we're always ready to arrive for the day of the presentation, for the day of product launch, for the day that you're, hitting targeted goals. Oh, it's easy to show up on competition day, but it's a lot harder to show up when nobody's watching, when it's not that exciting, when you're back in that hot, sweaty, smelly, chalky gym doing routine after routine after routine, and nobody's watching, nobody's cheering you on. And so for me, that importance of giving 100%, even when no one's watching, even when it doesn't feel like it matters that much, it's so important because everything that we do today matters.
Welcome to Engage Presents. I'm Engage co-founder and president Jake Olson. In this interview series, I ask Engage talent the most common questions we hear from event planners to help you get to know them and their stories in 15 minutes or less. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Engage Presents. I am Engage President Jake Olson. Alongside me today, a very special guest, Shannon Miller. Shannon is a seven-time, you heard me correctly, seven-time Olympic medalist. She is a cancer survivor, which in my opinion, I think is more impressive there, Shannon, and an author. Shannon, you have an amazing story, so thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
So, Shannon, again, you are quite the competitor. You've proven out there. If there was one superpower that you could have and go back and use during your time as Olympic gymnast, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. It's funny. Coming from a very, very shy person, as when I was younger, I was incredibly, just painfully shy. I probably would have said invisibility, but that wouldn't work very well for the judges. So, I think looking back at my career, I think the superpower for me, but I think for everyone is the work, right? It's your work ethic because talent can only take you so far. You have to earn it along the way every single day. All of the moments when the cameras weren't on and the judges weren't watching, that's when you earn the moment. And so I always feel like the superpower is hard work. Doesn't matter what it is, business, life, health. It's always just your work ethic. Did you get the job done?
Absolutely. No, completely agree. Now, you performed in the 1996 Olympics, second most decorated gymnast. I mean, we can go on with accolades, but what memory stands out to you about, your time in the Olympics?
Well, seeing as we're coming up on the 29th anniversary of the 96 games, there were so many memories, and it's been some time, so I've been able to reflect a little bit. But there's certain moments that stand out for me. I think people would expect me to say the gold medal moment from the team competition in 1996, and that was certainly an incredibly special, almost surreal moment to be able to stand up there with my teammates, seeing the American flag being raised, hearing the sound of our national anthem. I mean, it's just a incredible journey. To follow that up several days later with balance beam gold was also a huge thing for me because I loved balance beam. It was the first event that I could remember thinking the only way I can succeed in a sport is not going to be talent because I wasn't the most talented. It wasn't strength or flexibility. I was far below many of the athletes with that. And I just decided I won't be scared of beam. Everyone around me is scared of the balance beam, scared of this 4-inch wide piece of wood, and I'm just not going to do it. And so to be able to end my career with gold on beam was really special. But there are other moments. My first state competition is a huge moment for me, and it's one that I talk about often, think about often, because my coach had actually held me out an extra year, saying, "You're just really not ready yet. You need to keep training." And I was not happy with that decision, but looking back, he was right. And so when I finally did get to compete at states, I went up on my first event, which was balance beam, and I promptly fell right off of the beam. And I remember that moment because you have 30 seconds to get back on the beam. And I had to make a choice at that time. Was I going to be so overwhelmed with just the devastation of falling and losing before the competition had even started? Or was I going to do what my coach had taught me? And that is take a deep breath, worry about, I can cry about that later, but right now in this moment, I need to think of that next forward step. And so I took a deep breath, got back on the beam, tried to minimize the deductions for the rest of that routine, and then for the rest of the competition. And I ended up winning that state competition. And it just solidified my belief that my coach did know what he was talking about. And also that lesson learned that yes, you're going to fail, you're going to fall, you're going to make mistakes. It's what happens next that
Mm,
matters most.
I love that. So you talk to audiences about this gold medal mindset. I'm sure that's a part of it, right? What you just explained. But what else makes up that gold medal mindset?
So when I talk about the gold medal mindset, there's so many factors, but the ones that stand out the most for me that I include are certainly goal setting. Goal
Mm,
setting is a critical component for achieving success. Doesn't matter how big or small, right? You set goals to pave the way for change and growth and improvement. And it's just the foundation of all the things you want to accomplish. And I learned how to set long-term goals and short-term goals and SMART goals, but I feel like the most important lesson about goals that I learned was the follow through, right? We
mm.
can talk about setting goals all day long, but if we don't actually follow through and do the work each day, it's always going to be sitting out there on that list. You just write that on the list and that's great. But if you don't actively work the list every day, it doesn't get done. And so goal setting is a big factor. Teamwork is a huge factor. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. Also, positive mindset is a big deal. Most people have heard athletes talk about the mentality of sport and how the mental side can be even more important than the physical side. And it can be in life and in health and in business. And so I talk about the positive mindset and how we can achieve that. And then I also talk about one of my other favorite things, and that is a commitment to excellence. And when I talk about a commitment to excellence, especially when I started learning this around 9 or 10 years old, excellence is actually a pretty big, pretty powerful word, especially at that young of an age. And for me, I questioned, well, does that mean I have to be perfect?
Mm.
Never make a mistake, never have a bad day? That seems impossible. But what I realized was that committing myself to excellence wasn't about that. It wasn't about winning or being perfect. It was about giving 100% every time out, no matter how big or small the task. We're always ready to arrive for the day of the presentation, for the day of product launch, for the day that you're, hitting targeted goals. Oh, it's easy to show up on competition day, but it's a lot harder to show up when nobody's watching, when it's not that exciting, when you're back in that hot, sweaty, smelly, chalky gym doing routine after routine after routine and nobody's watching, nobody's cheering you on. And so for me, that importance of giving 100%, even when no one's watching, even when it doesn't feel like it matters that much, it's so important because everything that we do today matters for today. But the things we do today, I mean, think about it, your health, your business, certainly Olympic competition, what you do today counts for tomorrow and for many years down the road.
No, it's true. And to that point, let's take it to 2011. So you can walk us through what happened then. And I want to know how this gold medal mindset, the things you kind of just talked about there, helped you get through your next challenge, which was obviously ovarian cancer.
So my cancer journey, it really began in 2010. And 2010 had been a great year for me. I launched my company devoted to women's health and fitness. And I was actually hosting a radio show at the time. And I was interviewing physicians and nurses and health experts on all these great health topics. And every weekend I would go in and we would talk about these things. And that fall, we were talking a lot about cancer awareness and the importance of early detection and getting to those exams and screenings and all that good stuff. And it was about that time I just looked at my calendar one day, saw that I needed to be out of town on the date of my next appointment. And I called up, absolutely expecting to cancel or just push it to the next year. And as I was put on hold, I just felt this guilt. Here I was, an advocate for women's health, and I was not walking the walk. And so I ended up taking an appointment that morning, and it was that morning they found a baseball-sized cyst on my left ovary, and my world stopped. I went through tests and exams, and then in January of 2011, I woke up to find out that yes, it was cancer. It was a rare form of ovarian cancer, but they had caught it early. And I found out a couple weeks later I'd need to go through a pretty aggressive chemotherapy regimen. And I think that's when this gold medal mindset kind of kicked back in. I think it had kind of lied dormant for a little while after I retired from Olympic competition and began my life and kind of as an adult. And now all of a sudden these lessons were flooding back, the importance of goal setting. It was no longer trying to win a gold medal. It was, can I walk twice around the dining room table today? Can I get up, get dressed, and walk twice around the dining room table? And that was my win. The importance of teamwork and really understanding that not only was I not going through this alone, but I just didn't have to. You know, sometimes we try to do that. We don't want to be a bother. I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to you just burden anyone else. And what I had to learn the hard way was that there were so many people that were right there willing to help at every turn. And I just needed to embrace that. So teamwork, certainly mindset. My faith is first and foremost, but there's also that mentality, just like there is in sport, of visualization, of keeping that positive attitude, and maybe a few pep talks as well, moving into chemotherapy.
Absolutely, Shannon. Well, we're very impressed by that. If there's someone today who's going through their own struggle, their own adversity, either it be in a hospital bed or on a balance beam, what's your message to them to kind of get them over those hard days?
Well, it really is the gold medal mindset. And that's why I love talking to so many different audiences about this concept because you can tailor it to business, whether it's a Fortune 50 company or a startup. It can be a nonprofit. It can be a group of people that just want to learn more about how they can overcome whatever they're facing, whether it's health, financial, business, family, whatever they want to achieve in life. We all face challenges. We all fail. We all make mistakes. And so it is the makeup of that gold medal mindset that can help each and every one of us, no matter how big or small this challenge, help us to get through it. We may not heal everything. It may not be perfect, but how do you take that next forward step? And so that's what I really try to aim to achieve is to leave an audience with this idea that there's some little nugget in there that they can take hold of and say, you know what, this is something I can do today. I can get started today doing X, Y, or Z. And that might be in the realm of goal setting. You know, sometimes we know how to goal set, but we forget to actually do it because we have 1,000 other things we need to do each day. Or maybe we forget the follow through because it's on a list somewhere. Maybe we sometimes forget about that positive mindset and how important that is to a positive outcome, no matter what that might be. So I think it's really important to take these concepts that I put into this gold medal mindset and really kind of focus them on what you're trying to achieve and take that time to step back from the busyness of every single day. Just 5 minutes each day to really just kind of focus on what area you need to improve on because every one of us needs to improve something. We should always be improving. We should always be learning. We should always be trying to find that next forward step. And the gold medal mindset helps us do that every single day.
Well, Shannon, we surely appreciate you giving us that and very, very, again, impressive. And just we commend you for all that you've done from a professional standpoint, personal standpoint. You heard it from Shannon first that if no matter who you are, what audience, you definitely have takeaways to learn from her. So if you want to learn more about Shannon, letsengage.com. You can check out her profile and book her there. Shannon, again, thank you so much for just sharing a little bit of your story today. And I hope people click more to hear more about your journey because it, again, is very special.
Thank you so much. Great to speak with you.
Stay tuned for more Engage Presents.